Hi, welcome back. My name is Aladino, and together with my wife Maya, we are rebuilding a Cape George Cutter 36. This project has required quite a bit of us, quite a bit of structural work. Initially, we stripped out the interior. We had to rebuild the decks, replace many beams, the blocking, some of the king plank, completely rebuild the cockpit, rebuild the interior, paint, varnish, everything. Soon we'll tackle all the systems. We're now in the more satisfying phase of the build where we're adding things back on and the boat is looking a lot more like a boat again and like a real pretty one. Last week, Maya's dad Brian was here.
Hello, Dad.
Oh, yes, it's me again. Yeah, back again. Can't keep me away, it appears.
And he helped us make a cardboard template of our new engine, and that is to help us when the time comes for the actual installation.
Yeah, that's rubbing on your, that chain is rubbing on your forward edge of the hatch there.
Installing the engine has definitely been a long time coming, and unfortunately it still will be a moment before we're actually ready to hire a crane and lift the engine in. For a few reasons. I mean, first of all, there's still just a bit more to do in the engine room, but second of all, we still have a shed over the boat, and this has been a saga. If you guys have been following along, you might already know the story. A few months ago at this point, the boatyard came to us and told us they want to move our boat, and in order for that to happen, we had to dismantle our shed. And at the time, they said we have a month before the shed has to come down, and that month has long since come and gone, and we have not heard from the boatyard again. We haven't sort of wanted to pursue them and maybe remind them of what they said. So at the moment, we're sort of just trying to take the most advantage of still having the roof over us, while also not quite knowing how long that's going to be. So priorities still are the external work, and we have a lot of external work coming up in this episode. So for example, we will be installing the cap rail, varnishing the butterfly hatch, and also varnishing the bowsprit. So all really lovely visual tasks. And speaking of these visual and exterior tasks, the cap rails are something that my dad brought back to the boat with him at his last visit. Our cap rails sit on top of the bulwarks, and they provide a really lovely sort of just an aesthetic element to the sides of the boat, really defining its perimeter. But our cap rails had old cutouts in them from the old chain plates. And now that we are using a different type of chain plates, those old cutouts were kind of just eyesores. So my dad actually patched in some pieces of wood so that we have a nice, beautiful, unbroken cap rail. And now Aladino's gonna get to install them.
Beautiful. It looks like the sunshine is starting to visit us a little more frequently. Now these are the original cap rails. We took them off, was one of the very first things in the job, so it's super exciting. Being at that stage means we are nearly at the end, doesn't it? But it isn't as simple as to just put in the screws again where they were, because we rebuilt the entire bulwarks where they sit on. Some things have changed a bit, some things need to be corrected, altered, changed. So I lay it out, then I try to find the position, of course, because there's these corner pieces that tie together on either side. So I have to try to find the ideal location. That's why I put the hardware back on, so to see how this wraps around it, have equal spacing, does it look nice? I try to have the same amount of overlap on the inside and on the outside. And then it's just wrapping my head around things like, oh, careful, let's not put in the same length fastener here or I will poke through the fiberglass on the underside. So let's put a short screw here, and I put a little tape to remind me of that. Okay, so as you can see, I have most of the cap rail dry fitted on the bulwarks right now. There was a day without filming in between, and I was able to bond 2 pieces permanently on starboard and then continue from there, and I dry fitted all the rest, which means the holes are drilled and they're held in by screws now, but they're not bedded down yet. It's been a long morning of prep, but I've got 4 sections ready now, 1 on starboard and 3 on port. And then if I get all these bonded today, then I only have the 2 at the front to focus on tomorrow. Like I said, make them join nicely. So a little bit of cutting involved, and then making the piece that goes in the middle. I made it. 4 new cap rails are installed. And yesterday, since I had open Sikaflex cartridges, one more thing has happened off camera. Do you notice? The engine panel is on. So yeah, it's just glued in place. Put a clamp on there, exert a bit of pressure. First, I dry fit it, tape around it, sand the edges where Sika is going to be applied, and then acetone and glue it in. So now it is firmly inside. Now there is a lot of thoughts about engine panels inside the cockpit well on an ocean-going vessel like this. Cockpit is likely to get swamped eventually, and that means water on your panel. Now it is a version with buttons, not a key, and those are waterproof. But still, I agree that on one side, it is the location where I like to have the panel, because I've just had many situations where that engine just has to be turned on in that instant. Now granted, going down the companionway is not far, but yeah, if you're going all gung-ho down the companionway, might end up with a little accident there. Sometimes you can literally just reach in with your hand and also turn on the engine. But there is all these gauges that you have to keep an eye on. So I like to have it here where you can see it. One thing that we might do though in the future, like on Magic Carpet 1, is create a little box around it that has a lid to further just help against spray. Of course, if you swamp the cockpit, water gets to it still, but I guess then it just has to get rinsed. Yeah. It's also, we just kept this simple because that's where the cutout was. If you remember, throughout the refit, I left the whole B as is. I didn't repair it, I didn't close it, so that basically decided that the panel is going back in that location, and there it is. All right, as you can see, the 2 last pieces are fitted and they fit pretty nicely. I took away a little bit on each until they match again. The one unfortunate thing is, because I had to make this correction, now this remaining piece doesn't fit anymore, because, well, I could make it fit by removing some material, but that means it moves further forward, which then means it doesn't line up with the cap rail line, and so potentially it doesn't cover the bulwarks, like it would be like that, which is hard to see now on camera. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna leave this for later. This is the nice woodwork that requires patience, which I don't have right now. So yeah, towards end of the project, we see what pieces of teak we have left over, if we have anything of this caliber, and then fabricate a piece. I think the cap rails look really great. It's one thing that I've noticed the first day that we saw the boat, just the beefiness of them, the amount of teak. It's really not just decoration.
I am also very pleasantly surprised of how happy I am about these aesthetics. I say surprised because some of you may recall when we applied the Kiwi Grip non-skid to our decks, we chose this sort of cream color, and at first glance I really didn't like it. It looked a bit sickly next to the white of the rest of the boat, and I wasn't sure if we had made possibly a big mistake, but with the addition of the teak and the warm tones you get from that, I think the cream Kiwi Grip really looks excellent. And all tied together, I'm really happy.
Like I mentioned, taking the cap rails off was one of the very first things we tackled when we started this refit. We had to get rid of them because they sit on top of the bulwarks, which were the starter of a lot of the rot that we have been happening. So we had to start digging from there to actually get to the blocking and replace the beams. So the cap rails coming back onto the boat is a symbolic cap of the end of the story. Now, a long time ago, we received an amazing shipment of teak from Brock, one of our patrons, and we are still making use of that amazing teak. We have made, well, we've added a lot to the interior as decoration. Well, you can see the engine room panel over there, the corner, the corner for the fridge, then all the paneling on the chart seat, the drawer fronts here. I've made the doors of the remaining cabinet over there out of that teak. It's not on quite yet, so I can't show it. There is the piece underneath the electrical panel here, just closing off the engine room. And I have two very big, exciting pieces that I was keeping, and I had many things envisioned for them, but I think the caps of the cockpit combings are a priority. They're always visible, so I think I'm going to use it for that. So I'm not really going to start on this mission now, but like I said, I just wanted to start getting the idea forming in my head. So I brought some of those pieces of teak over here just to see if they would actually work for this scenario endeavor, and it looks like they do. I came up with a bit of a plan, but like I said, I might just glue these two pieces together for now, but then the task is to be revisited later. As pretty much always the case, there is a lot of open projects, so as I moved along the shed, I tackled all of them a little bit.
I'm going way in, out into the open. I'm going straight in, all in the moment. I'll go out into the open.
Okay, butterfly hatch is epoxied. As you might have been able to see from the time lapse, I actually squeezed some of the cartridge that mixes it into a syringe. And that is just to have a little more precision. If you really hold the syringe 90 degree to the seam and start applying pressure, then it really does fill that seam, and that will minimize cleanup later on. And after filling all the seams that I had, I passed along with my finger, just again to smoothen it out and to make the cleanup a little easier. So that is set aside now, let it cure. Next patient is going to be the bowsprit. I'm going to bring it over here onto the table and start sanding it.
Hi everyone, I'm also back. I've been away for a few days. I don't know if Deanie has mentioned anything to the camera yet, but I'm back. And I thought I'd give you a quick update. My darling dad, who many of you know from these episodes, had a bit of a health scare. Everything has turned out okay, but he had to have a unexpected surgery, which is never very fun, and now he's in recovery. So unfortunately, he's not allowed to do any physical work for at least a month. So he's already starting to go a bit stir crazy, and it's only been 2 days post-op. But yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know, because you all know and love my dad, and I was just at home with my parents. So he is doing very well, but yeah, sadly won't be around for a little bit. But I'm back now and just absolutely blown away at the progress. Only some of the cap rails were on the boat when I left, and I came back and they're all on, which, what a difference. Looks beautiful. And now sanding this bowsprit. So I think I'm gonna take over sanding the bowsprit now while Aladino works on some other things, but just wanted to say hello, let you know where I've been. And of course, these episodes are not in real time, so my dad will have been well and truly healed by the time you're watching this. But I do want to give a special shout out to the folks on Patreon who, you know, really made my dad feel better during the real-time updates and really gave him a lot of support and lovely comments to read during his recovery. So thank you very much. All right, now back to the sanding, and we'll see what Aladino's up to. It has been really wonderful to move this refit up to Canada and have my dad's help so frequently. He has made such a point to come out here and stay with us so often. And I have loved reading all of your comments about what an amazing character my dad is and how much he adds to the show. Not only his expertise and clear skills in so many areas of boat building, but just his demeanor, his calm presence, his humor. You're 6'5", so you're the outlier.
No, actually now I am 6'3.5", and at one point in my life I was 6'5".
Wow.
I've lost 1.25 inches. So
You better get doing some yoga, Dad. Stretch that spine out.
No, it's the burden of being a father.
Oh, great! Yeah, I love that.
It's the heavy,
the weight and responsibility.
it's the heavy thoughts.
Yeah, I'm a real trouble. And I can say, after knowing him my whole life, that everything that you guys are seeing on camera is indeed how my dad is in all manner of his life. He is so calm and so patient and so knowledgeable and so thorough. And as much as my brother and I sometimes made fun of that as kids, because we always knew if you wanted a quick answer to a problem, you would not ask Dad. Dad only gives long and thorough answers. But I think as an adult, I've learned to appreciate that a lot more. And yeah, it's really special to be working on this with him. I also just want to very quickly say how impressed I am with the healthcare system. Moving back to Canada for me after legally living in Switzerland for the past several years has not been without frustrations, as I think comparatively Canada is not as well organized as Switzerland in many respects, but I was deeply impressed with the way the healthcare system took care of my dad. Within 24 hours from diagnosis to surgery to being back home, literally within 24 hours, is crazy, and like the level of aftercare and everything. So right on. I'm really happy to see the system working so well when it needs to work. I just can't believe the beauty that has progressed during my few days away. The cap rails are just stunning, and the bowsprit, the butterfly hatch, everything's looking wonderful. I think my mindset around this refit has really switched since moving back to Canada. When we were in the States, we had the ideal setup in so many ways. We were staying with really lovely people. We had the amazing workshop. And really the only drawback was, I think, the time pressure inflicted on us by visitor stay length requirements. And I think that time pressure really ate at me. It's the sort of feeling of guilt and like you're wasting your time every single moment that you spend not working on the boat. And that's a rather exhausting way to move through life. And now being back to Canada, I think I have a little bit more sense of peace and calm, which doesn't even necessarily mean that I'm working less on the boat. It just means that I think my mental space around it is a little bit more balanced. One thing about a project like this that I've really learned is that you can't go into it only waiting for the final result. You have to find something joyous in the process, or it eats you alive. And it was eating me alive for a little bit, but I think now I've managed to find a little bit more of that calm and satisfaction in the process. And I think honestly the only way I've managed to find that is by having balance in my life. Yeah, all that to say, I think things are going really well, both with the boat and ourselves and everything.
Such beauty in our impermanence, how we rise and fall.
Yeah, it's definitely good to be here. Yeah, it's the timeline is definitely a bit more relaxing, or maybe a little less stressful, let's put it that way. Yeah, I know we still have a long way to go, but I'm still happy with where the refit is at, because this is a lot more satisfying than knowing that I have cans of worms to open still, or to discover and know what to do about it. Pretty much most of them have been dealt with, and it's just putting the pieces back together.
The bowsprit, the butterfly hatch, the decks are all looking stunning. I also want to really quickly provide an ending to a story that I kind of opened up, I think about 2 episodes ago, something like that, about our Mirka sander. It broke, but it was still under warranty. We sent it in to get it repaired, and we got an email saying that the part it needed was back ordered for a month and that we were going to be without it for a month, which was not going to work for us because you guys know how much we love sanding. So I called them, and at first they didn't want to send us a replacement sooner, but after a bit of polite persistence, they did agree, and in fact they did send us out actually a brand new Mirka. So that was really good customer service. And just to be clear, they are not in any way affiliated with us. They did not provide us with a sander. They do not know we have a YouTube channel. I did not tell them. So that was, I think, a good customer service story. And it's really, really good to have the sander back. If you have really sharp eagle vision, you might have noticed I was using it to sand the bowsprit in this episode, and it's a good tool. It's a really good tool. So I think that wraps up this episode. As always, thank you very much for being here. Thank you so much for watching. It's been a real privilege to share this journey with you through the ups and the downs and all of it throughout this fairly long journey. And I look forward to the next chapters, especially the chapters that happen on the water. Although they are not extremely soon, they are definitely sooner than they ever have been, I guess. That's always true every day. And yeah, it'll be quite a feeling. An extra big thank you to the folks whose names are now appearing on screen for always going the extra mile to make sure that Magic Carpet keeps being produced. And a really big thank you to all the folks on Patreon for making these episodes happen. We wouldn't be able to do it without you. We are eternally grateful for the support that we receive there, and truly, thank you so much for that. We do provide real-time updates, kind of a bonus, behind-the-scenes, exclusive, weekly thing that happens over on Patreon, so you know what's happening in real time. And you can sign up for as little as $2 a month. It is what keeps this channel alive, so thank you. All right, everyone, that's all for now. We will see you all next Friday.